Well, evening, fellow zombies. How we doing? I'm pissed. Say 25 at night. It's 20. It's April 26, 2023. Neighbor John Searsman, California. I'm pissed. Right now, I've got MSNBC talking to a Democratic senator from someplace, and okay, Chris Murphy from Connecticut. And MSNBC. I'm gonna mute this guy. Apparently, the Senate had agreed to a bipartisan bill to limit kids 13 and under internet access because they're afraid of the harmful content out there that they'll run into. So therefore, they're going to have the kids not do it on a lot of social media posts, all the ones that they liked using in the first place, but they can't have them. They can't deal with them. And I got news for these guys. This is not going to exactly solve their issues. Gun violence I can understand. But the internet? Oh, no, 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 no. Now you're dealing with freedom of speech. Now you're dealing with freedom of access. We want people to have access to the internet, but now we got to make sure that you're age qualified for it? And who the hell is going to be overseeing these kids in the first place? They'll pull out their damn smartphones, and if they don't have any parental locks on them, they'll be able to access whatever the hell they want, unless the parents are going to be taking away all the damn smartphones. So how are they going to be policing the internet? They're afraid of kids being exposed to too much crap out there. Well, they better understand, and the parents better explain it to them, because I think this is a cowardly way of saying it. I'm not saying it because I hate kids. No, I don't like kids. I don't like predators preying on kids in the first place, and I don't like kids' behaviors at the time in the first place. Especially the ones I got over here in this complex here. But limiting kids' access to the internet because you're afraid they might find something objectionable? The internet's still a wide body situation over here, and people have forgotten that our kids throughout the generations have been exposed to a hell of a lot worse than the internet. Oh, good Lord, my God. People keep forgetting history and they don't even bother to remember history. And sometimes the older generation keeps scoffing at our younger generation. We want the kids to grow up tough. We want the kids to grow up certain ways that our grandparents did. But I had to tell you, the kids these days are getting more and more technical savvy. They're more advanced in it than we give them credit for, even 13s and unders. I mean, shit, the stuff they could do scares the hell out of me. Even some of those kids could have been hackers at one time, back in the 90s. 80s and 90s, when we actually had the bulletin boards coming out. Now, we didn't have hackers. We had kids on the internet during those days. What was being formed as internet because of certain commercial entities that we used. And now, we're afraid the kids are going to be exposed to a hell of a lot of stuff? You got to be kidding me. These kids are going to find the shit. They're going to find the stuff like crazy. So, you just can't ignore it. And you're afraid them are going to be marked for life. They've already been marked for life a hell of a long while ago. You just don't understand it. You don't want to understand it. You're just being too damn lazy about it. Considering what the kids have gone through these days, grow up into the adults that they are, try to give their information away to the younger generations. And now we're afraid of what's going on these days. More so. It's one thing what I kept saying about the nudie magazines out there. They'll learn about sex one way or another. and usually someone smuggling a magazine or two somewhere around, and they'd usually learn about it. Freaked other parents out. What other freaked them out is usually the older adults preying on the younger generation. Those are the people I really have an issue over. But how are you going to protect them from the stuff on the internet? Limit their freedom of speech? Let limit them in any way, shape, or form? And this is going to be going back into the Supreme Court at this point of saying how much and what's the age limit and what's considered an adult and what access are we limited to for our age brackets out there. Somebody's going to have to throw this out there to SCOTUS, but I'm not quite sure how the conservatives are going to be able to deal with this shit, especially the SCOTUS. Now, if I'm going to be going into my own past at this point over here, what was the fear that the kids had? Let's see, getting beat up all the time. They had to learn how to fight back, so we had to have that going on. Kids had to learn how to bring weapons, and then they get busted for that shit. Graduate from baseball bats and knives, chains, and artillery. Yeah, even at my age and age group out there. We also had video games out there. Just invented video games, and the developers are going wild. 20-something years olds to 30-year-olds, potentially 40-year-olds, in different companies, different countries making their own video games. How to make it more entertaining, how to bring the audience, and how to capture a market or two. Wild, wild west of video gaming. And then what happens? Suddenly there's a rise in crime. Okay. Our neighbors. Getting back to the argument. I was just keeping my ear out to the neighbors out there, see what the hell's going on. Am I going to be blaming their behavior on video games or the internet at this point as well? Not really. Not really. The adults are freaking out left and right because of our technological expertise is getting out there. We got people getting apps on their phones, and they're afraid that parents are losing control of their kids. They're turning into zombies looking at their phones all the damn time. You want to see zombies? Take a look at the damn adults walking around with the damn phones while they're walking and hitting it and running into things left and right. How do you think this plays out? I hate to say this, but the ancient dudes in our Senate are so behind in the times and thinking. They're still back in the Cro-Magnon period. Next to the kids who are trying to get more and more technically more savvy to things we got going on that we can't even focus on. But we're going to put limitations on them for this. Because they're getting ahead of us in the learning curve. It's like trying to see the adults using horsepower literally compared to the Model T rolling by. And they were afraid of technology coming across. What was it, 1880s, 1890s? We started having those things coming around. And towns that used to be depending upon horse travel faded away. Some towns actually do allow horses. And everything else is automobiles and motorcycles and trucks, technology, industry. We couldn't get across the ocean fast enough. We had to use airplanes to get across, steamships to get across the waters. Was that scary enough as it is? And now we've got smartphones that act faster and store more information than a damn computer does. We're almost getting there anyway. If you get a small micro SD card, maybe about 516 gigs, you can match some of the laptops and computers we have out there. And you could turn this into a computer fast enough just by putting more storage and using it. I use mine for storage. I use mine for processing. And we have apps out there for processing left and right. We could practically do things on a phone than we can with the laptops, or even mainframes, or even desktops. I remember when the desktops came out, and everybody was into, including the young geeks, 10, 15-year-olds would join computer clubs with the adults, learning how to tear the thing apart and re-put it back together again, or build their own computers. They did that. They'd share and swap drives with each others and files with each others. And they did that. They'd share in technology at this point. What drives me crazy is even some of the adults were encouraging all of it. But we got the older generations right now who are too damn afraid of our kids being exposed to wrong ideas, to wrong books, to wrong things left and right. So now we got the states going apeshit left and right, the conservative red states out there, and limiting information and knowledge. If they actually signed this one in the bill, if they actually signed it into law, where teenagers at 12 years old and younger can't use the internet without proper education or actually a proper supervision, who the hell's going to be able to supervise these damn kids? The kids will find some way to get into it. They will. But then again, did the adults actually give a shit about that in the first place? And if they did, why didn't they go crazy when the internet came out? And ban that automatically. Why didn't we ban the internet connections when it started out in the 80s and 90s? All those nice bulletin boards out there that had a hell of a lot of crap that you could share files with, and malware and spyware and viruses. Good Lord. Where was the outrage there? No. You get games like Grand Theft Auto on the commercial market, and everybody else went crazy in Congress. We had to have congressional hearings about the damn shit. Got to the point where the video game makers had to make their own damn rules and regulations, and had to make sure that the retail industry enforces it. But they hardly ever did that in any way. It's not like you're dealing with alcohol or marijuana. Good Lord. Seeing kids getting it from their own siblings or from other sources and getting high in front of people left and right. I'd seen that happen, even in my late stage of adulthood. And their mouths are a lot worse, or just as bad as I remembered a long time ago. Is the bill going to pass? Probably. And only the older generation will think they're protecting our kids. God, are we a bunch of dummies? The kids are still trying to learn shit. That's morality. We still have to train them and teach them. But they ain't going to learn from us if we haven't got it ourselves. But limiting them on First Amendment, on what they can and can't see, that's going to help them out much? Book banning than winning them on the internet. You got to be kidding me. You're going to get an underground counterculture there. When they tried to do prohibition regarding alcohol, how many speakeasies did we actually had? How many underground bars, trading routes we had concerning about alcohol, and how many empires grew out of it? We are so screwed. We're screwing ourselves in the process, but we think we know better. We sure as hell haven't figured out anything. We try to put our old-fashioned 19th century values into damn shit, and these kids are 21st century. Unless we work with that generation, unless we understand what that generation is all about, there's no way you're going to be able to limit these kids. There's no fucking way. They're still out of control if you can't control them, if you can't give them morals and guidelines. And they're going to do what they're going to do. And then when they get busted, they're going to be screaming and yelling at us because we didn't do anything else to help them out. But we'll tell them, you guys made the damn choice because of your own damn decisions. They're the own lessons you've already learned. You can thank the older generation for fucking you over, but you're still responsible for your own damn actions. How to screw over the younger generations from time immemorial. We couldn't even do this damn shit to ourselves a long time ago, even before the bulletin boards. No, we just had rebellion during those days anyway. Once they got into the teenage years, we still had issues with them until they got into the young adulthood. And if we still had a war going on, guess where they're going? Oh boy. We have a generational war going on, guys. We don't even realize it, and we don't care. But eventually, the older generation is going to lose because the younger generation is going to get the advantage over us old farts. We think we know better with our 19th and 18th century values, and they've got 21st century values. Where the hell did they get those from? And what about all the technical advantages we want the adults to have, and the kids are still playing with them? They're not playing with Tinker Toys anymore. They outgrew the Tinker Toys. They got CAD for that. They got CAD graphics, and better than that. They can make and design their own damn videos. And they'll use TikTok and anything else they can get their hands on. Regardless, they'll find a way. And after, then what? We just don't know anything, do we? No, I don't suppose we do. We thought we had it made a long time ago. We beat the living crap out of our kids. They didn't behave, beat the shit out of them. Have the adults do that. Till we passed over the laws that prevented it because we saw damage to the kids more than one way. So we tried to be more gentler to these kids. Tried to be firm in our verbal accostings, but that didn't work much, did it? So now what do we deal with? Now how do we deal with it? I haven't got a clue. But the only thing I know is juvenile court systems, and the court systems are getting full of these young kids because they haven't been raised better by their older generation who still have a generational gap and communication issues with their younger counterparts. We're really in for it, aren't we? So now what do we do? Somebody want to tell me about that one?